Kane, it's 1-0. We're fucking down. 13th in the championship. The takeover happened, as I said it would. People will be... Oh, when have we got Leeds? Now then, people, and good afternoon, and welcome back to the Just Joe football show and the return of the final word at lunchtime today. But it's okay, it's pre-season. It will get its normal slot back on the evening of games. I feel like we might do too many. We might not even be able to get them in with how many games we're going to play. So we'll have to wait and see. Please do smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, and of course hit that notification bell. And before I introduce everyone, I just want to make people aware I have a new show starting tonight. I'm just going to bring it up. I want you to all watch it. I'm really excited actually to put it together. Actually, it is called the White Rose Rivals. So we're going to be obviously in the championship, and in the championship there is of course a lot of Yorkshire-based teams. So I've managed to arrange content creators from each of these. I was going to say illustrious clubs, but clubs, and we're gonna have a chat about it on a weekly basis. I'm really looking forward to it. To be fair, the banter's already started because, I asked what should we do with the thumbnail, and the Chef Wednesday fan obviously sent me the 6-0 scoreboard. So I was like, oh, is this how we're gonna go? Are we? So yeah, it's gonna be fun. So if you're about at 7 tonight, please do watch it. Okay, so we've got Andrea who's currently at work. So big up to Andrea. We've got
lunch break
as well. Yeah, lunch break. Yeah. Lockie with us, we've got Jer, and of course, all the way from Oslo, our raving international correspondent.
Roving reporter.
We've got Rocco, roving reporter. And we've got a debut for Joe. Joe Blackburn, I did the square ball walk with him just recently, set out on his YouTube journey. So, I want you to show some love to Joe and the rest of the content creators that are on this channel as well. All links to all channels are in the description to this video, so please do it. Format today, I'm going to get people's general opinion on the game, and then we're going to go through the squad in each position and see what kind of surgery needs work, because I do think surgery is needed with the squad. But I'm going to come to Rocco first of all, because Rocco's still in Oslo. Rocco was at the game. And I think we have a different opinion over how the game went. Just having chats off air. So, Rocco, how was the atmosphere? How is Oslo, and what are your thoughts? Because we haven't spoken for a while. What are your thoughts with the game and the current state of the squad?
Yeah, I mean, the atmosphere was great. You know, it was really good to be among the travelling Leeds fans, and loads, of course, of the Luskos group. So that was really good, and just a good atmosphere in the city. We were surrounded by a lot of Man U fans in our end, which I was quite surprised about. So good before the game. But the game, first half, I didn't have a massive problem with, actually. I thought, Man U's team was fairly strong and had a fair few expensive players there, and I thought it worked pretty well. I mean, the one thing I would say, and not Farke's fault really, but playing a pre-season match going into the championship where we're basically practicing just sitting back, defending and trying to counter, when we're not really, I hope we're not going to be doing that too much in the championship, seems a bit counterproductive. But anyway, it went well. And, going into the second half, we still had a very strong team, 6 players that we'll expect to start the season, playing against a load of kids. And to me, it was just demoralising. Like we couldn't do anything against these lads that have barely even played for the under-23s. A lot of them were on loan in League One, or even one of them, the guy that scored, was played for Altrincham in the National League. These guys might not even gone to be pros, and we couldn't do anything against them. I don't think we had a shot on target second half. So I was demoralised after that. I found it pretty galling. I expected to go out second half and win that game. Really disappointing, and it just left me, and this might be over dramatic, but I just feel like a lot of the players that have come down with us, I just feel like they have to go. Like I just feel like they've been through so much. I don't know. Maybe an influx of new players will help, and that will get rid of that. But it just feels like there's just a bad vibe still. You know, they smile through it, but you look at that performance, and it was just so poor. You know, people just weren't competing, and I'm not saying not running around, but just not being good enough. So yeah, I feel like there's something fundamentally wrong at the moment. Very, very early days, obviously, in the season and of Parker's reign. So plenty of time to sort it out. But yeah, it left me pretty worried.
Yeah, I suppose I think my attitude is pre-season doesn't matter, but I do agree with you in the sense of the second half, because I did the watch along. I seen the changes we'd made with Bamford, with Ayling, and I went, do you know what? These have changed to full 11. They're all kids. We win this game. And I actually said that on the video. I said, we'll win this game now, 1 or 2-0, I think, with the quality that we've got out in that second half. And there was a massive drop-off. And I think I agree with you, Rocco, in terms of, I guess when you're saying about some of these need to go, you're referring to the old guard, as we like to call them, right?
Yeah, and the returning loanees, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, really, yeah, I guess I am saying the old guard, really. I mean, I've always previously thought that they should stick around for the championship, and like I say, hopefully I'll have a different feeling. With a new team, if we can sign some players. But it just feels, it feels like a lot of them are done at Leeds for me. Yeah. You know, I don't want to pick on Bamford because everyone picks on him, but you know, he's ambling around and he's just not affecting the game. He's playing against two kids centre backs, and the ball doesn't stick. He can't do anything. Dan James, he's fast. He gets in the final third with a crossing chance, and he ruins it every time. Like all the faith in the word. Yeah. I mean, whatever level you're at, if you've got no final product, you're not going to succeed. So that worries me as well. So yeah, I hope everyone else is a bit more positive.
No. I do agree with you in that respect. I suppose maybe I'm too blasé with it because I just think it's pre-season and surgery is needed. But yeah, I get what you're saying, Ari, James. I mean, Joe, I'll come to you because you mentioned this a lot last season in terms of Bamford having a go at the youngers and having a go at players when the passes were up to him. And I noticed at one point when Chris Moore, who I thought was actually one of the better players in the second half, played the ball up to him, and it was a bit short, and he turned and had a go at Chris Moore, and he's talking about like he's going like this. I don't, and I just thought, hang on a minute, mate, like what are you doing? Because you've done nothing. And to be fair, there were one chance where he was offside. He went with his right boot, and he didn't even give it enough power to get over the fucking line. And I was like, look, I just started laughing. I went, this guy's. He's done, man. And I think he feels that as well, Joe. But what are your thoughts on the game, mate?
But the first thing I'd say is they've had a week of preseason. And a lot of them haven't even had that. They've had a day. So, and the guys that came back, like, the internationals that came back this week had Monday for testing, and then they flew out on Tuesday. So I would temper a little bit by saying, and then come back to previous preseason, we talked before about, Leeds never really had a good preseason on the Bielsa either. It was a case of just getting minutes, and it wasn't what was important. What was important was about having players get minutes and then working on some bits and pieces. But exactly what Kate's saying there.
Everyone was saying to me yesterday on the stream, Joe, Kate's going to be going mental.
Well, when I was at the Newcastle game and I met Kate, when I walked past her, the first thing I said to her was, "So Bamford's missed a pen," and just left it at that. He looks a shadow of himself, if I'm being honest. That's the only thing I'd say. But I would give all of them a little bit of a slack on this game. And you listen to Farke's comments after the game, and what he said was this preseason friendly was really organised way too soon. He would much rather have been on the training pitch than he would have been out here. He would have learned more. I think in one sense, I disagree with him on that. I think he's learned a lot from this game, from certain players, especially the second half, as Rocco's already said. I think all of the goals and the mistakes came from the senior players that were here last season, or at least the players that have been in the squad, like Struijk's been here for a while. And I felt sorry for Struijk because the first goal, he cuts out the ball brilliantly. He reads the pass in behind and manages to cut it out, but then he overhits the touch and leaves a massive hole for them to score, and then you're Ayling for the second one. So I think for me, had the same feeling. I was quite happy with a couple of the younger players. I thought JB had a really, really good game. Even Dan James to a degree. Like, I know we didn't think particularly well. I thought he was actually okay, and I thought the issue with him was he did get into wide areas. There just wasn't anybody in the box that was worth hitting. Bamford was never available in the box. Even when he was up there, he wasn't free. He wasn't making movements. And I don't like the Bamford stuff with the younger players, and I'd like to see it stop. We talked about it last year an awful lot. I'd like to see him stop that because I might be wrong here. The younger players may come around and say he's a great influence for them and helps them, but from what I look at, I don't see that. I see him chiseling away at people's confidence, and I think I'd like to see that go away. There was some positives though. I mean, there was some positives with the game. I thought Archie Gray, if he had an experienced midfielder in beside him, could do quite well, but he got lost in that game. So did Bate. But even at that, I thought outside the first maybe 5 or 6 minutes, second half, Bate and Archie Gray were actually okay. I like Bate. Goalkeeping position's an issue, but outside of that, I thought there's still some positives taken. Like Georgina Rudd had a very good first half, especially when he got space to run. I thought he was very. And Mateo Joseph in the second half, when he got space to run, I thought was very good as well. So there are some positives, but I would temper the whole thing just by saying they've only had a week's preseason. Give it a second.
No, I agree, and look, it's 10 days now, or 9 days between now and the next game, so that's another week and a half or so of pre-season training, so that's going to look good. And I agree with you. Like you can't berate people. You cannot berate people if you're not doing your own bloody job. Do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you just turn around to Patrick Bamford and say, "Hang on a minute, you ain't doing what you're supposed to be doing. So don't come for me." That's basically how I'm sure it will go. Lockie, I think you're a little bit more. I guess you're a bit like me in terms of like looking for the positives in things and trying to get things out. I feel like the two older lads have been very depressive there. Maybe it's an age thing, Lockie. I'm joking. But Lockie, what are your thoughts on the game, mate?
It's just on my experience. I think going into when I were at uni team last year and we did our pre-season, it was terrible. And we're thinking, right, this is going to be a long season, but then we did really well in the season. We finished near the top. So I don't take pre-season into account in terms of a team performance. I think what you try and look for pre-season is areas in which you did well and areas in which obviously you didn't. Now, what Fark has now at his disposal is footage of a match, which he can do so much with. He can decipher it, he can go through it with all his coaches. And what happened, the Bamford situation, talking about having to go at players, he'll look at that, he'll have heard that for the first time. He's not been at the ground, has he? He's not been with the team. So he'll know now the personality of the players better, I think. So for me, I'm not that bothered. We could have lost. Bielsa's pre-seasons were notoriously bad as well. And then with better teams in the season. So yeah, it's his first one. He's had the whole team, but he's not even had the whole team. So I'm not expecting a lot. And I think just in terms of individuals as well, I think Chris Moore and I think Jeremiah Mullen was decent. I think that first mistake he made, for me that's down to midfield. There was no options. He hesitated on the ball, didn't he? And he got caught. That'll happen in training once you work on that. But after that, I think Liam Cooper did well to actually. I imagine they had a chat. Leadership calmed him down, and he did well. He was fine. Chris Moore, for me, again, I thought he did well. I just think he lacked leadership next to him, and that's what worries me about Pascal Struijk. Yep. That's one thing I picked up. That leadership from Pascal, which is worrying me.
And Evie's hit the nail on the head here for me. She says Struijk has hit a wall at Leeds. I used to love him, but too much has happened, and I think he needs to continue his journey elsewhere. And I think, it is, because I think a lot of us seen him and Creswell as the future. I think at centre back, I know a lot of us thought that, and it is a shame. I remember Calvin after we got promoted saying, "This guy is better than me. He's left foot, right foot. He's the best passer at the club," and all this sort of stuff. And he definitely has seemed to regress a bit.
I was just going to say, Joe, quickly.
Yeah.
Is it lined up since he did that injury to Harvey Elliott? Do you think that's still playing on his mind?
Could well be.
To do that to someone, and I didn't mean it, but in front of me, I've seen someone dislocate the knee in front of me, and I didn't do it, but being close to it, you don't want to be involved in challenges. It really does affect you mentally. So maybe that's still working with him. I don't know.
I'd put a lot. Me, ever never criticising Jesse, but I think playing him at left back for as long as he didn't help him. I don't think that's helped him either. If I'm being totally honest.
Absolutely.
I don't think that's. I don't think that's as big a deal as people think it might be. It's still a defensive position. He had played in both positions growing up as well. So I don't think somebody said on Twitter yesterday the biggest failing of Bielsa was playing Struijk at left back. He broke him. I was like, he didn't play him at left back. It was Jesse that played him at left back.
Yeah. I was going to say,
Arguably,
he played him in CDM, didn't he, for a little bit?
Exactly.
Yeah, because his passing range of Calvin. But
arguably,
he's a better left back than he is a centre back. Arguably,
you think?
Yeah. Because to go back to the stats at the start of last season, I mean, he was probably had the best stats of any left back in the Premier League in the first 5 or 6 games of last season before things started to go bad. Remember the Southampton game? People were looking at his numbers and his stats in that game, and he like the most duels won, most forward passes from the position of left back. So I think there's possibly still a player there, but I think, as everyone has said, I think he's just everything that's happened at Leeds is just broken. He said 2 relegation battles back to back that he hasn't adapted particularly well with. I think that's left its mark on him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. Should we go to our Strout lookalike then in Andrea Russo? He's been likened to him quite a lot. How are you, mate? What's your overriding thoughts on the game?
Well, there were pros and cons, of course. I think one of the positives was the level of fitness I didn't expect, especially in the first half. The team that played the first half, that level of fitness after one week of preseason, I expect a lot worse. Honestly, to be fair. And I think we've seen the early signs of what Farke's system is. A quick movement of the ball, especially JD moving a lot. Between the 2 lines, coming back to take the ball. The consistent use of the fullbacks. Of course, more drama than Yelda, because of course Yelda for me is not a left back. Because of course he was sometimes he was a little bit shaky, but it was good overall for me defensively. Going forward, he didn't broke anything. He didn't bring anything because he's a defender. He's not an offensive player. A player that can bring something to the team going forward. But yeah, overall the fitness, the quickness, the fact that especially if you look at the starting lineup, he fielded players that were characterized especially by a level of pace. A certain level of pace, because he wants to play quick football, with a quick build-up. And I think we show that especially in the final third. Of course, we weren't concrete, but the wingers and the number 10 at the beginning were very good with the passing, I think, and the cuts. But in that specific case, especially Rutter, we'll talk about every position later. But I think Rutter was coming out not as a number 9. But more as a number 10 or as a winger. If you look at how we played yesterday, I think he's perfect as a number 10 with a tall number 9 or a proper number 9. He can be a very good number 10 for me. But yeah, the negatives, of course, like Sorocco said in the second half, we expected, I think, all of us more from the veterans, especially because the Man United changed their lineup too, and they brought in a lot of young players. So the veterans, it was an unbalanced lineup. Veterans on one side and a young lineup on the other one. But Ayling wasn't good for me. He looked a bit late, in terms of fitness too, like Bamford. Bamford has never looked the same after his injuries. He looks the shadow, like we said previously, of himself, because he was a good player before the injury, and now he looks at the shadow of himself. But yeah, overall, I think the level of fitness is good. The early signs of the Farke system are good, but of course, it was the first game, so like just said, it's just 1 week into preseason. Good signs on one thing, bad side on another one. But yeah, the Nuggets just passed behind me, by the way. And yeah, overall, that's bad and cons. It was a game of 2 hours. Very good on the first half. The second half was terrible on the other side.
I agree. I think I knew one name in that second half from Man United, and that was Charlie Savage, and that's just because his dad's Robbie. I was like, I don't know any of them. So yeah, it was quite strange how we played. I thought we played a very decent Man United team in that first half. I like the midfielder, Manor was it? He called, number 27, and then Mount. I thought looked good, and that's why in the second half I was just confident that we would beat them. But like you said, there was so many poor performances. Joshua Rawcliffe says, welcome, Joe. Just subscribe to your channel, and I'll come to you now, Joe. What are your overriding thoughts? Do you agree with what's been said throughout?
I tend to try and be overwhelmingly positive, just because I don't like being negative. I like having some good vibes. And there was a lot of good stuff to look at in, especially the first half, because the front four was really fluid and sort of moved about quite a lot. Like Poveda, technically on the right wing, you keep seeing him on the left, Sinisterra over on the right, which was really good because it shows that we've got a lot of players that, like, especially after like a few days of learning a tactical system, know how to adapt and still perform quite well. I think we were unlucky to not lead when Rutter put that ball across. I think it was Greenwood that didn't get on the end of it, maybe?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And I really enjoyed the midfield as well, because all four of the midfield, I thought Shackleton, although he's not like one of the young ones, didn't play badly. JB showed a little bit of control. Bate just looked really comfortable in the midfield, and Gray looked like Archie Gray always does, like he's got tons of potential. I think the problems are right at the front of the pitch, where we've got Bamford not putting away chances, even when he's offside in a 1v1 with an open net. I like him, but that keeps happening. And in net, because I feel like if we're relying too much on Klaassen or Van den Heuvel, it's not going to be great. But I think as a general thing, we suffered from the issue that lots of clubs do when it's pre-season friendlies, in that you've got two 11s who are only playing 45 minutes, so aren't getting all the fitness they need, and don't have a full 90 to sort of build into the system and get used to each other, if that makes sense.
No.
I think the problems were like individual mistakes rather than structural things. So that's a positive thing, I think.
Yeah, cool. Loads in there, and I agree with a lot what you said, mate. We will go through now and just have a chat about each position and get people's thoughts on where we need to improve. Before we do, we've had a couple of super chat. Carl Bull, thank you very much. Darren Smith says, afternoon, guys. George, Leicester City fan, says, for your transfer budget, it's looking bleak for us, George. I can't lie, mate, but I don't know. I'd still wouldn't give you £2 for Harry Winks, if I'm being totally honest, mate. So yeah, we'll bank that. Stu Palmer says, big up Joe, thank you, Stu. And William says, young guys want to play, the old guard, want to be paid. Ailing, Pascal, Bamford need to go. Bamford needs to get off his high horse. Let's start with the striker position then, and I'll come back to you, Rocco. You've been waiting patiently there, mate. I did a video yesterday, just a little YouTube short. I think we need 2 number 9s, mate. That's my general overriding opinion, and that might mean moving Bamford on. I think as well, it'll probably be good for Bamford to move on, especially what happened last season with the stuff with his family, which, you know, you should never do, but he still look. Whenever I see him on the pitch, he looks like he's in here so much, and that he wants to be anywhere else but that field. That's how I feel.
Couldn't agree more, mate. I really couldn't. He just looks a complete forlorn character, and it's horrible to see, really. But I just hope he moves on. I don't know. I don't feel like we'll be able to move him on. To be honest,
No.
Who's gonna pay him his wages? I don't know. Maybe someone will take him on loan, but I think that's a big problem. I think having a player like him, not saying that he's a negative guy at all, but having someone like Bamford around and on the bench and not really playing, I mean, I wouldn't even really want to bring him on. I just want a fresh start with fresh strikers. And honestly, I don't think Rutter is that yet. I don't think he's got the presence. I don't see him, when the ball goes up, it very rarely sticks. He's good, like you said, or I think Jer said, when he gets the ball in space, he's a danger and he can pick a pass. But I don't see him battling and winning balls and holding it up like I think we're going to need. So also, judging on yesterday's game, which, like the guys have said, it came very, very soon in pre-season, but Joffy didn't really do much. That's disappointing. I'm really hoping that he can have a big season this season, but he needs quality around him. He needs experience around him and players, that can be relied upon. The other thing about our team, there's no one really there that the other players can rely on, to give the ball and you won't lose it. Someone to get them out of some trouble, like a Pablo, obviously, would be lovely. The only person really anything like that is Cooper, I think, which is crazy to say, but the others are all, I don't know, just they're all looking for guidance, I think. So yeah, we need a really top striker. I think that I mean, it's obvious in it to say that that we'll score 20 odd goals, but hopefully someone proven at the level that's not coming in and having to make a name for themselves. Someone who can lift the rest of the players.
Yeah. No, I agree. Magnus says, I hate being negative, but I'm so tired of seeing players like Bamford and Ayling play for us. Instead of giving me excitement, they are draining my energy every time they play. Need to refresh our squad. I agree with everything Rocco said. How do others feel about needing two? Do we just need one a goal scorer, or is it a case of one and also another with maybe a similar profile to Bamford, and then you need someone with a similar profile to a Pookie, for example, because that's what Farke's done regularly with his Norwich sides. Does anyone think, no, Bamford could be a backup, let's just get the one in? Or
I think we need two, but I'll just say we also need a left back. We need a few midfielders as well.
Yeah.
So I won't focus on getting two. Obviously, you want your main targets, don't you? We need whoever that is. We need the main striker in, because that is obvious. I think Rutter is 100% a winger. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say.
absolutely.
Sorry, Andre, go ahead.
No, I was just saying very, very quickly, about what Lucky said. Yeah, I agree totally. We need to. But who's going to take Bamford then? Because he's going to be the third choice. He's good wages, in terms of salary, because he was an important player in the squad when we were promoted to the Premier League. So I don't think, looking at this level right now, someone will take him right now, honestly, with a concrete opportunity. So I agree with Lucky, we need two, but I think we'll just get one, and Bamford will be the backup realistically, unfortunately, because we realistically need to one with a type of player like Pookie, for example, a more versatile mobile one. And another one that is more physical, especially they can do a lot of all the play, because Bamford right now can even do all the play, unfortunately. He just look lost physically too with his business.
Obviously Surridge has been linked a lot, and some of the transfer fees are like I seen one for 2.3 million. I mean, for him, who's like Bamford, you would argue he doesn't have a great goal scoring record, but if he's only 2.2, it's not a lot of money. Go spend big on your number one, number 9. But I'm sure Surridge, I would argue, just saying maybe loaning out Bamford. I don't know. It doesn't even fill me with confidence in coming off the bench at the minute, Joe.
Surridge for me doesn't make any sense. I think we've got young players that've got potential like he has, and have possibly got a better scoring record than he has.
So who is that player though?
This is the problem, and this is the problem lots of teams will have. People will say, you look at the Premier League, even looking at clubs who are like Arsenal, for example, you're looking for a 20-plus goal a season striker. There's not many of them. They're hard to find, and then when you do find them, everybody else wants them as well. You're competing with a lot of clubs for a handful of players that are specifically good at that thing, and it depends on the style of football you play as well. If we're going to play a hold-up play, then you go and get somebody like Bamford, but then the goals aren't as important. It's more their goal involvements that's important. But as Rocco and Lockie have already said, the issue we have is everyone is screaming for Georgina Rutter to play up front this season. I think it was very, very clear yesterday that Georgina Rutter is not a striker at all, because his best moments in that game were when he drifted out wide. The moments where he looked like he was struggling were when the ball came into his feet. I think I said to you during your watch along, Joe, he needs to be more aggressive pressing fullbacks from behind, because it was balls passed to the centre backs and he kind of just hung around behind them rather than putting pressure on them, and they would have lost the ball and he could have been in to score goals. There was 2 chances in the first half where if he'd been more aggressive, he could have nicked the ball off the defender and been in behind the goalkeeper. So I think, but that's not a criticism. I think he's a winger, and I think that's where he needs to be. Now we still need to look for a number 9. Joffy still needs to do more when he's on the pitch for me. He needs to still be a bit more, and Sam Greenwood is the same. I think there's 2 good players in there, but for me, they need to be more active when they're on the pitch. They need to do more off the ball. The movement has to be an awful lot more. Sam walks around quite a lot. Joffy does it as well. They kind of drift around the area that they're in, but I want to see them bursting around to try and get there, because that's the thing that Bamford has over them. Bamford can do the pressing, and that'll always be the conversation. Bamford can do the pressing. And in the first 10 minutes of the second half yesterday, we actually saw a front press, which we haven't seen in a year nearly. So, and I was really excited to see that until Manchester United scored, and then it stopped. But you see Farke wants to play that. So if they want to be in the team ahead of Bamford, they have to do that press. And Bamford will get away with it. Bamford will get away with not scoring goals if he can do the pressing, because that'll be important to the system. So they have to get a striker in that can do that. But I would be concerned about that. The goal that he didn't get was too reminiscent of last season. We've already said that, going on the goalkeeper and leaving it short on the right foot. It's his right foot. I don't know what's going on, because he used to be able to finish with the right foot. Then now he can't anymore at all. But I think for his confidence, for everyone else's confidence, I think he needs a fresh start. And I do think somebody will buy him. I do think clubs, if they thought he was available, would. There's plenty of clubs that would give. His wages might be the problem. But they've got him anyway in the
Might be
championship.
a loan potentially.
Well, not with Farke's comments after the game. I don't think we'll see more loans.
I suppose though. I mean, they don't have much money, but someone like Luton or Sheffield United surely would say, "Do you know what? We maybe not Sheffield United just because of the history, but I don't know. Maybe we'll see. But it's a far cry from the Bamford we've seen score a hat trick against Villa. I remember that goal that he scored with Tyrone Mings so close, and he just lifted it in the top, and I'm like, wow, how's he scored from there? Like it was unreal. The goal against Leicester, for example, as well. That was a beauty, and it's like he's not that guy anymore.
No fans in the stadium, Joe. His best seasons at Leeds.
Man.
Well, there's a lot of pressure. I mean, look at last season, the back end of last season. When Ellen Road isn't your friend, it can be a very tough place to play. I mean, that pressure, when Ellen Road does turn toxic, that's a tough place to play. When he's had the amount of abuse that he had last year, and again, you said the threats to the family, all of that plays into your head. The 2 seasons he had a great year for Leeds. There was nobody in the ground giving him any stick. There was nobody shouting at him. He had constant coaching from the side, and that could be heard. I mean, go back to those 2 seasons. You would hear Bielsa's entire coaching staff shouting onto the pitch for 90 minutes. They can't be heard anymore, the coaching staff on the sideline, because there's 30, 40, 50,000 people in the stadium. So there's Leeds were better without fans in the stadium. Certain players clearly can't handle playing with the pressure that's on their backs when they're wearing that jersey. And that happens at clubs. Some players just can't handle the pressure of it.
Oh, I think that's fair. That's fair. Let's move on to the wingers then. Joe, I'll come back to you, mate. I think for me, it's probably the one area of the pitch where I think we're pretty stacked. If we're going to play Rutter out there, if Sinny's going to stay, I don't think he will, but if he does stay, you've got Dan James, others that can play out wide as well if needed. Because of how much work needs done elsewhere, are you happy with the wingers that we have or that can play in them positions?
I'd say on the wings we're looking pretty good, to be honest. We've got all the players that played on the wings yesterday. I've got a list here because I knew I'd forget. We've got Sinistera played on the wing. Poveda did. Mateo Joseph did. I thought he was a striker, but apparently he can do that as well.
Left.
Dan James as well. I managed to forget that we owned Willie Nonto, although we might not for long, but who knows. From what we saw yesterday, I think it would be nice to get a 15, 20 goal a season winger or something that could just rip up the championship. But looking at all of the other spots in the squad that need to be filled, it feels like there's a lot of other places to put our money, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not a priority.
Yeah, no, I agree. Can I just I want to get some opinions on Poveda, actually, because I've seen people waxing lyrical. I'm not his biggest fan. I don't rate him, and I don't think he should be in the championship squad. That's just my opinion. However, I've seen quite a different side of opinion on social media, and just off some of my friends who have messaged, said, "Oh, I thought Poveda were good," and I'm like, I don't get it, but maybe it's because I just don't rate him that I can't see what he's done good. But what are your thoughts on Poveda? Does anyone just want to have a quick chat about that?
Well, I think it did some good things, but just some good passes. But on the wing, he never challenged his opponent. He moved a lot, but to what avail? To no avail in the end. He just moved a lot. He created a lot of movement, but he didn't create superiority on his wing with that movement. The only thing that he did well, I think, were the 2 passes that he when he passed the ball to Rutter in the middle. But apart from that, he did with the ball, he did nothing. He didn't challenge his opponent. He didn't do 1-on-1, unlike Sinistera. So I think it was a little bit static in the end, But because he moved and he did those 2 1-2s and the cut, I think some fans got overexcited by that. But looking at his recent record in the championship too, of course, he's had the injuries with Blackburn and Blackpool. I don't think he should be in the championship squad, to be fair.
Yeah,
there's people saying that he can be the surprise of the season. I don't think so. I don't agree, to be fair, honestly.
There's a couple of people saying that he was crap in the championship, and I would like to just disagree and go onto your PC, go into Google and type in Mick McCarthy's comments about him last season, and also type in Tony Mowbray's comments about him the year before at Blackburn, where they both said there's an excellent player in here. Ian Poveda's issues has always been himself. That has been his issue. He's caused problems everywhere he's gone, and that has been his issue. Number one issue. He doesn't get a run in teams because when he does get into the team, usually something happens disciplinary-wise, and he's out of the team the following week. in a game like yesterday, if we're going to pick out positive moments and we're going to be selective about who's done well and what, because that's all it was yesterday. Everybody had a couple of moments of good stuff. We can't then dismiss because Poveda's had one or two good moments, but then not other good moments. Then we dismiss him to say, well, he only did one or two things in that game, which he did. That's all he did do. But that's all that anybody really did in that game. And Georgina Rudder looked decent out wide, but from 2 moments of 2 good balls into the box, but it's only 2. Poveda had 2 goal involved, well, nearly goal involvements as well. But Cini, a lovely move with Cini, and Rudder was involved in that as well. There is a player in Poveda. The issue is going to be, is any manager ever going to be able to get it out of him on a consistent basis without him causing problems? Because the first, again, start of the game, I thought he looked really, really good. He was in space for the ball. He was always an option to receive the ball. He wasn't always getting it, but he was always an option to receive. You could see him looking for the ball. And the first half as well, he was on the side of the pitch of Cody Drama, and I don't think either of the two of them got any ball played across that for like 15, 20 minutes at one point. Just didn't get any touches. So there's that as well. When he came inside, they seem to be doing this weird thing where the fullbacks are tucking right inside narrow for kickouts, and then the wingers are dropping into the fullback position to get the ball, like an overload from the back. And I thought he showed for that as well. Defensively, you've got that question mark of will he do the defensive work? But we've seen that before. Players, Dan James is not great at doing defensive stuff either. Neither Sinistera. You know, they're in there for their attacking stuff, and you will have to accept the fact that they maybe won't do the defensive stuff. But if you're in a team that's winning, you'll get away with that. If we're in a team that's struggling, then they won't get away with that. But I just don't see him. I don't see him having a future at Leeds. I would like to see somebody get it out of him because I think there is a good player in there, but he's running out of time.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, and I don't know what he should not be in this championship squad. He needs to be sold for me. I'm that. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't rate him. I don't see what other people see. I just don't. I remember he did he do like some sort of trick against Crawley or something in FA Cup? And was it Crawley? And everyone were going, "Oh my God, he's amazing. He should play." And it's like, man, and one more. Let's chill out. I don't know. I just don't rate him. I'm sorry. Okay, so midfield. We had some very good plus points in there. I like Lewis Bate, and I think Lewis Bate should stay around and not be sent out on loan. I think he should be kept in the squad. I thought he had some nice moments. Darko JB, again, the same. Archie Gray showed his fearless, that strike that he had. You know, I thought, yeah, fair enough. And if he's going to play in the championship, some of them hit the back of the net. You know, if he's going to try them sort of efforts, I thought there were some positives in there. I'm not as bright on Shackleton as what Joe was. I think, again, for me, he's in the Poveda bracket. That's just my opinion. He needs to go as much as that. I don't like to say it because I love Shackleton, but, you know, you can win as many bleep tests as you want, but it doesn't make you an amazing, you know, footballer. So, yeah, he needs to be sold. But it's clear we need some experience in there, isn't it? I think that's the issue, obviously. We don't know what's happening with Forshaw. But, Rocco, where are you at with regards to the midfield, pal?
Yeah, I think we desperately need 2 starters for me. I thought JB did some nice things, but I wasn't overly impressed, to be honest. Especially, again, he wasn't up against 2 quality players. That was the area of Man U's team that was the weakest in that first half. I didn't think he shone. I thought, well, the thing I will say is that from the very first kickoff, he received the ball and like tried a clever little turn and lost possession straight away. So maybe I was on a bit of a downer about him because of that. But I don't think he's ready. I don't think he looks physically ready to play in the championship week in, week out. So I really want two new midfielders. I think that's probably the area where we actually are the weakest. I don't think Gray's ready. Very tidy, very good player, I'm sure. Greenwood, of course, I'm not convinced he'll ever be a player for Leeds. So yeah, there's a bit of depth there if we can add the first teamers, but I wouldn't really want to go into the season starting with any of the midfielders that we have. Bate did play well. I was impressed by Bate. Very happy with him. So if we do play with a deep lying, midfielder like him, maybe he can be the surprise package. So happy, definitely to have them 3, Bate, Gray and JB, behind 2 experienced and proven players would be ideal for me.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think there was one moment where someone fizzed the ball at Bate, and it came at him at such pace, and he just gave it a slight little touch, and it went into Struijk's path, and he had the body near him, and I thought, oh, that's so impressive, especially with the pace that it was smashed in at him at, because a lot of people had just bounced off him. So yeah, I think you're right. Does anyone? I think, are we all in agreement? We need some experienced heads in this side.
I agree. Yeah, in terms of midfield, I do personally think JB is ready. That's just my opinion. I think what I've seen from him in the last, I guess, all last season, watching the 21s with England as well, and in that game, he showed enough for me. In terms of look at the other midfielders around him and what he did, he stood out for me. I think his transitional play is good. He does make mistakes, but he's a young guy and he's learning a new system. I just think what he did on the ball in terms of progressing it forward with Rutter, I think they work really well together, the forward passes. Rutter's really good at drifting and really isolating the fullback. And if you've got a guy who can play a ball through the gaps he creates, you're winning. So I liked his play on the was it Madry? That Madry, the guy with the hair.
Maybe.
Yeah. I think
Hannibal, Madry.
Yeah. He had some really good turns on him, which I really liked. I think the problem in midfield at the moment is it's a difficult position. You have to understand on the fact there's a lot of rotations that you have to keep doing to create space, create areas. The one thing that thingied me about midfield was when we had the ball at the back, they'd show for the ball, but then they wouldn't make another movement to show again. And that was the issue. That will be learned in pre-season though. So for me, I just like JB. I thought he was really good, but Shackleton was Shackleton for me. I think a lot of endeavour, a lot of energy. Definitely tried his hardest, doesn't he, Shackleton? We know that. Yeah. But I just think in terms of technical quality in a FARC system, he's not there. I think he was a little too slow to make a decision. His decisions are always very safe, which is fine, but sometimes you need that progression, and he's just not got that in him. Is it confidence? I'm not sure. With Sam Greenwood in midfield as well, we signed Sam Greenwood as at worst an attacking midfielder, an attacking player. There is attributes. That's what he was good at. That's why we signed him. Wasted in the centre midfield. I know he played a bit further forward, didn't he? But I mean, in the last season or two, why is he midfield? I hate it. His attributes are attacking, and he don't know what to do now in that position. He's lost at the moment the understanding of being an attacking player. He seems to be a defensive-minded player, and I hate that. But yeah, we need, I think, a real FARC player in there. Farker, sorry, I keep getting told off. Farker. People get really, really annoyed by that. Farker. We need a Farker player in there who can literally, like, we're talking Vjanic. What was he called? Is it Vjanic, Andrea? I don't know the names. From Norwich. Vjanic.
Vrancic.
That's the one. Yep. A player like that. What a guy, because his career before he went to Norwich, it was very humble. It wasn't great. And then Steepleman as well. They're his players, and he forged them into what he needed, and we definitely need that to go with the likes of JB for me. And again with Gray, I thought he was fine. Gray and Bate's pass to Joseph was beautiful, and I really like Bate is steps ahead. He's very smart. He knows what he needs to do when he gets the ball. He's already decided. So I like Bate. Bate's a dark horse this season, definitely.
Yeah. There was a lot of stuff yesterday that Bate did last season with Oxford, and Carl Robinson, who obviously was at Leeds for a bit last season, he was the one that took him on loan to Oxford at the start of the season. And Carl Robinson said just before he got injured, this isn't the case of if Lewis Bate will be a Premier League midfielder. It's a case of when he'll be a Premier League midfielder.
He's got the brain, hasn't he, Joe?
He has the brain. He's all the attributes. He's got, as Joe's already said, he's got fantastic.
Mini Lewis Cook.
Yeah. Very
it's
similar.
Like
Yeah. The way he can take the ball in and turn with it nearly under his body and get moving again, I think he does that really well.
He already knows what he's going to do before it comes.
It's that thing like you said about Shaq's plays it safe. So if the ball's played into Shaq's with his back to the play, he's likely to play out to a fullback or back to the centre back. Where when I went to Bate, he was kind of looking to take it into his feet and roll at the same time, and then look to go forward with it, which I really like. I would have expected Bate to go out on loan to a championship club this season. I think you might actually just see him stick around the Leeds. You're talking about Farker style players. The work with that Bate gets through his defense. He's very good defending as well. He can get in between the centre halves and clean up as well. I think he did that twice from 2 corners. He just was the first person to get the toe in and get away from them. Won't put too much pressure on the guy because he's still a young kid, but he has got ability, and I'd like to see him stick around as well. But we need experience. Same with Archie Gray. I thought there was spells of the game where Archie looked really, really good. but you need to get Archie in space, which means you need to have somebody experienced beside him who can hold the fort down. And maybe that's Tyler Adams if we can stick around. Maybe Tyler Adams is injury is the perfect thing to happen. Maybe the injury keeps him at Leeds because no one's going to buy an injured player, maybe, which might help Leeds. But if you've got someone like that beside, and arguably even like not necessarily Adam Forshaw, but an Adam Forshaw-esque player who can sit, break up the play, and give you the ball to go and do the work with it, that would be really good. But obviously somebody who can get through a whole season without being injured would be great as well. But that's the big issue. We've got lots of potential talent in that midfield area, but there's no experience in there to help them develop properly, or at least allow them to have an early opportunity to get into the team.
I just want to say as well quickly on midfielders.
Go on, mate.
So one thing I noticed was with JB and in midfield in the first half, Sam Greenwood was playing further up.
Yeah,
but JB progressed the ball more than Sam Greenwood did, and that's what worried me with Sam Greenwood. He's lost the thought of a striker that he used to have, because in the 21s and when he was young, he was clinical. He was really good in attacking third as well. So
he got to move to Arsenal, didn't he, from Sunderland?
And Arsenal fans rated him,
Yeah.
Clearly Leeds managers rate him as well, because he's been picked by 3 managers. Like Bielsa liked him, Jesse liked him. You know, he came back into the team under Allardyce. He was out of the team under Javi, but he came back in under Allardyce. So it's clearly there's something they've seen him. I've been saying it for 2 years. I think there's a player there, but for me, it's just the work rate stuff on the pitch. If he worked a little harder and ran a bit more, I think he'd get an awful lot more ball. I think you'd see a better player. But he seems to be stationary far too often for me.
It's the perfect word to define him. Stationary. That's the thing. He's very good technically, but he's stationary. To stationary in a position can drop into midfield when we struggle with the ball, and in the Falke system, like he said, when Stiepermann and Vrancic were playing there, they used to drop and get the ball. He didn't do that, and I don't think he can do that, honestly, as a player. So when we do, and I'm sure you remember when we did the keep loan and sell video, I said that I think Greenwood should go out on loan, and we should keep Gallard. I'm still convinced of that, because he is technically, and he has talent in him, because we've seen him score some goals in the Premier League, especially with a good finish, from outside the box. But apart from that spark, during the whole picture, the build-up, it doesn't really help the team. That's because he's stationary, like Joe said, and that's the main worry,
That's fair. Yeah. Rocco, were you going to add something?
Yeah, just a point to basically support what everyone's been saying. That the one time that I thought Greenwood has had a good game in midfield was that Brentford game on the last game of the season, and the reason for that was because he was next to Phillips. Phillips had a brilliant game that day, and he had someone that he can just give the ball to, just pop it off to Phillips, and you're done, you're safe, and it's a comfort blanket for him, and he had a decent game that day. So it just sort of backs up what we've been saying, that these guys have potential, but they need someone experienced and reliable alongside them.
For sure. Joe, did you have something to add as well, mate?
Yeah, I think because I spent a few minutes specifically watching Bate yesterday, because I'd seen that he'd done pretty well at Oxford, so I thought might as well keep an eye on him, see what he's doing that's different. And what I think he tends to do that Greenwood doesn't is he spends a lot of his time sort of scanning the pitch, seeing where the opposing players are. You'll see it from all of the best midfielders. They will sort of intelligently know what's around them and know what they need to do next, which I think might be an issue with Greenwood's game, purely because he started as a striker, which means that all he's done for most of his career is look backwards. Yeah. He's not had to look what's in front of me, what's to the sides. It's just a matter of, if I get the ball, I can go forwards and I can maybe shoot and score. And that's not necessarily something Bate has had to do. And it might be something that Greenwood needs coaching into him. It might just be something that he can't do. It's hard to say, really.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. It's a bit like, he's almost like Joffy. I genuinely don't know where their main positions are. And like Joe was saying, it's up to a coach to find that and a bit like Poveda, tease it out of them and get them and say, right, this is where you're going to play from.
I'd be interested, Joe. What would they say? If you ask Sam Greenwood, what's his best position? Would he now say something? Does he want to be that?
I'd say it's number 10. Sure. You go back to the partnership that he had with Joffy in the 23 side 2 years ago. They ripped it up, and Greenwood was the 10 and Joffy was the 9. And the argument about Joffy not being, and I've made this argument as well, Joffy doesn't seem to be able to play up front on his own, but he could when he had Sam Greenwood in behind him. They seemed a really good partnership. They complemented each other very well. If Greenwood was too far advanced, Joffy would drop into the 10 because he could comfortably play there as well. If Joffy wasn't getting forward, Greenwood could break the lines and push on. They complement each other very well. They haven't really played in that system together at Leeds. Like Joffy hasn't been the 9 and Greenwood in the 10. I'd be interested to see if they could do that together. But we've said this before. This is a huge season for both of those players. If they don't break through this year in the Championship, I don't think they're going to break through at all at Leeds. I think they'll possibly move on. But I do think in both players, I do think there's aspects of their game that you could look and go, yeah, there's good footballers there and they should be making it. They should be able. But I always thought last year with Sam, it was a case of he needs that moment in the Premier League that he can say in his own head, yeah, I can do this. And I thought against Bournemouth, that would be it. He scored a banger against Bournemouth. I thought he'd say, yeah, I can cut it at this level. I thought he'd step on a bit. Kind of like what Somerville did. Like Somerville was in and out of the team for a while, and we were all saying the same thing. Like he was coming into the team, but he wasn't really staking his claim for a permanent position in the team. He'd come in, he'd do a little bit, but not enough. And when he came into the team last season, everyone said the same thing. When he comes in here, he has to do more. He has to do the defensive side of the game. He has to work harder. He has to get on the ball more. And then when he did that, we saw what a player he was. And I think it's the same for Sam as well. I think he needs to just get moving. The best midfielders are fluid. It's already been said about Bate scanning shoulders. Frank Lampard was very good at that as well. Probably one of the best in the world at scanning shoulders. Pablo's was excellent. Yeah, they always knew where everybody was. But they're always on the move. And even if it's only in like a little 10 by 10 box, they're constantly just moving these little areas in space looking for the ball. And Sam doesn't do that. I don't think Joffy does it enough either. So
I just want to quickly say as well, Jeff, before we move on. There's a lot of comments about, that's in the 23s, that's in the youth football. But the managers know these players from playing in youth football, right? The manager are looking at attributes, they're not looking at, they're playing youth football, so it's not good enough. Otherwise, no one would come to the first team. It's about attributes, right? It's looking at the attributes of a player and if you can adapt them to the first team. So I just wanted to say that.
100%. No, I think that's.
If I can add just one quick thing about the midfielders overall. I agree that there's versatility in those type of players. Of course, we have players that can play in various positions, but of course, especially the young ones, we need to know who is about part of our plan, and who should be sent out on loan first of all. Then about JB, I really liked him, like Rocky said. I agree with that because especially he was really quick on the ball with the decision timing. Played some very good through balls to Sinisterra especially, and I really like that. But yeah, it worries me too that he was better in that compared to Greenwood. Different type of player, of course. I didn't like how Shackleton played, to be fair, because of course he's a workhorse. He never stops running, but technically in midfield, it doesn't bring you, a help during the build-up because it's not that technical. He doesn't have vision, to be fair. So he's just like a very, very consistent player in terms of runs and pressure in that. But in the second half, Bate, I think he can play in the role of Forster, in that specific role, because he can drop, get the ball. He play like 2 touches a lot of times. He has a lot of vision, very good one, coming from the Chelsea Academy. And I really think he should stay around. Of course, both him and JB are not going to be starters, of course. But Bate is a player with a lot of talent for me, and we should keep him and give him some chances from the bench, to be fair, because he has certain characteristics that we don't have in the squad right now. Archie Gray is good. He was good on the offense, I think, but defensively needs to be better, of course. But if you look at the versatility of the player too, I think he can play a part, of course, as a squad player, because he still needs to develop a lot. We've seen him with that shot, with that occasion. It was good, of course, when he recovered the ball on the left and then drifted to the middle. But defensively, he left some gaps open because he tends to hire his position a lot and left some gaps behind. So, of course, he's still a lot young. He's the youngest in the squad, so he needs to develop a lot. Yeah,
doesn't look definitely like a 17-year-old, though. Physically, he's pretty big.
No.
Big boy. Yeah, yesterday was season moments, though, wasn't it? Like yesterday's a season opportunity for these players, the younger players. Because Bate was nearly a shoe-in to go straight back out on loan this season. That was nearly already agreed when he came back last year. He was going to go on loan. But I think when you look at yesterday's performance, and I know who it's against, and it's on the 23 side, but if you're looking for players to step up and show a new manager something he hasn't seen before, I think Daniel Farke comes away from that game thinking, I'll have a look at Bate again next week. I think I'll keep him around for a bit.
And I think as well, while Forshaw sat waiting in the wings, if you look at that and you are, already set on bringing in 2 midfielders, you might say to Adam Forshaw, do you know what, Adam? We don't need you anymore. Do you know what I mean? Because you might see enough from Bate and say, okay, You know, if you're not willing to take this contract, then that's fine. You move on, kind of thing. So that's something worth considering as well. Let's move back then to the defence and goalkeeper, which for me is arguably the worrying. You know, the worryingest. No, the worriest. Why can't I say
Most
it's worrying?
Most worrying.
That's the word I'm looking for. The most worrying part.
I
Of
like
the
that
pitch.
word you made, Joe. I like that one.
Yeah, worryingest.
Worryingest.
Sometimes they have these brain farts, mate. The most worrying part of the pitch. For me, we need 2 left backs. I think left centre back. Outside of obviously we're not seeing Voba. I think we've got Voba there, but I even think the ones underneath him are not at the races. But look, there's more pressing areas of the pitch, so you can keep Cooper as a backup. You can keep maybe Hjelde as a backup for left back and centre back, and maybe move Struijk on. We definitely need a right centre back now, and I can see the links to Nat Phillips, you know, to supplement Creswell. And even at right back, I don't know. Everyone was going mad for Cody. I'm not sure, but again, people were talking about off the ball stuff. I just see what he did on the ball. I don't know. That's just me. It's just how I looked at the game. It's fine. Others analyse it better than what I ever will be able to. And I seen some say Klassen had a good game. I thought both keepers were absolutely garbage. Klassen made one good save, and everyone's going, well, I think you should be giving him a chance. I'm going, calm down. I mean, his distribution was terrible. You think Melies is bad? That was brutal. He was putting players under pressure left, right, and centre, playing balls into midfield. So, look, it's worrying all over. 2 left backs, maybe 2 new centre backs, and is the question marks over the backup right back, maybe. So, Joe, being the positive, as you said, try to be positive about the back line, brother. Talk to me.
I can try.
You have to be speechless.
Some tasks are impossible, Joe. Don't worry about it.
So what I noticed from the goals we conceded was the first one came from Struijk overplaying the ball, putting it directly into Man United players' feet, and then Van den Heuvel. Frankly, that was shocking. I'm a 7-a-side goalkeeper, and I think I could have stopped that because it was just right at him. The second goal was Ayling just not tracking his man forwards, but I don't think he's going to be our starting right back this season in the first place. I think he'll be a backup.
That's fair.
Left back definitely needs fixing. That's needed fixing for a long time. The fact that, off the top of my head, the best left back we've had for a while is Alioski, and he was a right winger, is very weird. Centre back
now.
Yeah.
Don't say that, Joe.
I know.
People will be triggered. Go to see it.
Centre back, I don't know what to think, really, because I think Struijk wasn't awful a while ago at centre back, but he's got that issue that a lot of players have got where they've been thrown between 3 different tactical systems, and now they're just trying to work out, okay, what do I do now? And being like 3 days into Daniel Farke, we're not going to see his potential because he's only just learning to be a centre back again. It's a weird one. I think we definitely need at least 1 centre back. We need probably 2 left backs because Leo Hjelde, a centre back, was our best left back yesterday. Maybe our second best left back was Cody Drama, a right back. And we'll definitely need a goalkeeper. I don't mind Klassen as a backup, but I think from that first half, his distribution was enough to spook me a little bit. I think.
More than a little for me. More than a little for me.
The most dangerous line that any Leeds fan can use and have over the last couple of years is give him a chance based on, which is usually means somebody thinks this player is a decent player, but doesn't really actually know that they're a good player. But they've heard good things, so they think they should get a chance. Christopher Klassen lost his place in the Leeds United #21 side to Daniel van der Heuvel last season. Klassen is a very, very good shot stopper, but his distribution is a problem and has been a problem at #21s for a while. There was a reason that Klassen was replaced as Leeds United #2 last season. People have got to start looking at this. And my advice to anybody who wants to start talking about #21 players for Leeds next season, spend some time watching the #21s play first. You know, actually watch these players before you have an opinion on them, because it gets thrown up so often. This guy deserves a chance. Like, based on what? Klassen, as I said, will be a decent shot stopper. I was disappointed with Danny van der Heuvel because I think he's a better goalkeeper than he showed. He made the one that he came out to challenge the 50-50 that he won was good. The goal was poor. It's right under his body and he should save it. He should save it. Any part of his body, he should save it. Distribution-wise, he's better than Klaassen, but didn't do himself any favours yesterday, and I thought he would actually be the better of the two of them. But Leeds need to start that position out rapidly, and I'm concerned that we might not be able to.
What sort the goal? What?
Any of them right now. Like just the comments
Really?
that Farke made after the game about transfers, it just kind of worried me a little bit. And then Phil Hayes said today that Leeds have nothing lined up.
Has he? Where did he say that?
So yesterday it was said after the game. One thing, the Leeds currently have nothing else lined up. So now that could be completely wrong. There's nothing coming out of Leeds. So all the stuff we've heard coming out of Leeds could just be people making stuff up, and then all of a sudden we do a player this weekend. But I was concerned with the body language of Farke when he was asked about transfers, just around the, he made a point about the loans have hurt us, and we need to make sure that this never happens again. And then we have to wait till the end of August to see what kind of team we've got going to next season. The end of August is the first month of the season. It's over. We've already got that. And he pointed out that we can't drop points early in the season. We've got to make sure we can pick up a point here and there and make sure we've got points on the board, which also made me think he's not happy with this squad. He doesn't think the squad is ready, and he doesn't know if he's going to have any additions in time for the start of the season, which was concerning.
I think me most favourite thing he said is, and it will now forever in my head be known as August. He says August. He says August. I can't help but he goes August. Yeah, I mean it's massively worrying on the transfer front for sure. I was expecting a massive, loads coming in already. I think that the ownership's not got off to the best possible start in that respect. I don't think I was expecting fanfare, but Rocco did warn us, actually, to be fair, that they've been in situ for a while. So why should we expect anything different? There's still people at the football club that we thought might have got the boot by now, to be honest. And they're relying on them to take us forward. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that. But I'll come to you, Andrea. Is Cody Drama the only positive? I thought Chris Moore was good. I want us glowing on Jeremiah Mullen personally, but I thought Chris Moore looked the better of the two young centre backs, and I thought, like you say, I didn't see what everyone else saw. Poor Cody having to play 90 minutes, by the way. So what are your thoughts on the defence, mate?
Well, I agree on Chris Moore. I think he was the better one between the centre backs yesterday. But he's with the ball distribution. I mean, he was influenced clearly by the bad positioning of the whole defensive line in the second half. But I like when even when he come under pressure, from the pressing the forwards. I think he did well, but it's still early days. But I like what I've seen, and considering he won't play a major part in the squad next season, maybe he can be a player that can be sent down on loan to League One, probably, or League Two to get experience, because the body, the physicality is there. The passing seems good too, even at the senior level. Of course, in the senior side yesterday, his positioning was influenced by the defensive line with Struijk, Ayling, that were positioned bad on both goals, and even when we were called out in other center situations. So I think the positive was certainly Chris Moore, but his positioning was influenced by the other defenders. Drama, like I said in the past, he is good when it comes to going forward with crosses, with overlaps, but with the cuts and overlaps behind the defenders, he never do that. He never goes one-on-one. I expect that from a fullback with a pace like he is. He's good on the tackles, but sometimes his positioning needs to be better too. He needed to improve at Luton too. The other defenders, I think the centre backs overall, all of them were really slow on the ball. With the ball distribution, they were really slow, especially Cooper and Mullen in the first half. Cooper only plays with his left foot, and that's a problem to be fair, because Farke, as a lot of the ball of the build-up goes through the centre backs from the back when you have to start the action from the back, and the midfielders drop to get the ball, of course. But it's low. It slowed us a lot yesterday in my point of view. Mullen, I think. In the under 21s, in the youth team, he was good. Honestly, I've seen some positive comments about him, but yeah, it's a suspended judgment for me because I think he wasn't that good, to be fair, with the ball distribution, and when in certain situations when he came under pressure, he struggled. He struggled to get the decision making right, and I think with the pace, he struggled to cope up with the forwards too. But it's a suspended judgment. I think he's a good player, but yesterday I didn't really like how he fared. On the left back situation, Yelde is not a left back, like we said. All of us have said probably. I agree we need two left backs there, but I think we probably get one because we need to discover the situation of Stuart Dallas too. That's why because he's returning, of course, soon. Yeah. Does Farke on the club consider him to be a left back? That they consider him to be a centre mid. They may even utilize Dallas as a left back because he can play basically everywhere apart from the goalkeeping spot. So I agree on that. And Struijk and Ayling, I think, were poor and need to. Struijk especially was ruined. I agree with what was said at the beginning of the show. Was ruined by his drifting to the left back position, because I think in his first season when he broke into the team, it was really good. Paired with Cooper too, especially because he played on the right and Cooper on the left, and his preferred foot of course is left one. I think he needs to find his confidence back again. Ayling, I think I suppose it's a fitness problem at this point because he looks. In that system, I don't think he looks fit in that specific system.
He's always the last one getting back, isn't he? He's always the last one getting back.
Yeah, exactly. Even when he does centre runs, in the second half, he did some centre runs with the ball. He stumbles a lot on the ball. He's really slow to take a decision. So that's my overall view on the defenders.
Right, that's fair. Steve says, look, owners are hamstrung over signings until EFL deliver. I disagree with this completely, and I'm sick of the narrative that's being pushed out there. This is just my opinion. This is the same owners that have been able to get you a manager, have been able to appoint Nick Hammond, have been able to get a new goalkeeping coach out of Norwich, have been able to give Daniel Farke all his coaching staff, and have also signed 2 players from Scotland, Josh McDonald and the young kid Pirri, who's a youngster, and they're also selling players left, right, and centre. Do not believe the hype. Listen, I think for me, if they're waiting for a fanfare to say we're now owners and here's 3 new players, no, be done with that, please. Like just get the players in. We need them ASAP. I don't know if they're waiting to clear the decks completely first before they start to bring in, but I'm not believing that anymore. Go on, sorry, Joe.
The only positive I'm kind of finding in the current situation is anything that's come out of the club leak-wise, or we think are actual genuine connections, or players that are signing, or managers that are going to signing, ultimately have turned out to not be the case. Pretty much every single one, bar the Farke one, but there was so much noise around the manager, it could have been anybody that came in. So my only thinking is maybe there is stuff going on behind the scenes, and that it'll just happen. We'll have and then out of nowhere it'll be Leeds are delighted to announce the signing of blah 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 blah, and it'll be there. Yeah. Maybe Farke was playing it down in the press conference yesterday. Maybe it was a Jesse Marsh type thing from last season where he's like, I just don't want to talk about transfers. I'm not doing this for a month, so let's just taper expectations straight away by saying we'll see where we are at the end of August. I don't know what he was like at Norwich when it came to that kind of stuff as well. I don't think we've got skint owners by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think the people that have bought into Leeds will be happy to accept a disappointing season. I think that the noise they've come out of there and what they've tried to achieve themselves as a sporting organisation is to come and try and win things and to try and put teams that are competitive. They won't make any money out of this if Leeds are poor. That's the most important thing. If this is venture capitalist style stuff, then there needs to be delivery. They make no money if Leeds stay in the Championship next season. If anything, they actually lose money because they have to put more money in to try and get the club up because they'll lose parachute payment money next year. So it might not be as doom and gloom as it looks. It's taken longer than it possibly should have. The ideal situation always with summer windows is to get the players in before you go back to pre-season. Last year we kind of did that a little bit, but then the season finished late this year. Pre-season is much shorter than it has been previously in previous years. So the timing, Farke said himself, there's not enough days to do the work that we need to do. So they're all feeling the pressure with the late finish, the Premier League, and the early start, or not the early start, but the very close start of the Championship to that. So it might not be what I jumped to reactions on this. I'd hold. I'd hold for another few days at least and see where we are next week. But it could be.
Okay.
We've been in situations before where Leeds have done all their business in the last week of the transfer window, so that could possibly happen as well.
But we need a quick turnaround now because we're running out of time. We're running out of time. I think it's coming to less than 20 days now before season starts. It's just not good enough. So I agree with you. They want a quick return. You know, Jordan Spieth did an interview on Sky yesterday saying, actually, us getting relegated and buying it for what we did, it could work out better for us as long as we get promoted straight away. They'll get a better, and I get that, but they've got to get there. And the longer they leave it, you know, the worse it'll get. We'll round off. Look, we need a whole new defence, maybe Cody Drama aside. We need some experience in midfield. We're okay with the wingers. We definitely need a brand new number 9, maybe even 2. Leeds lately says, hit that like button, everyone. Big up to Max. He says, guys, do you think there'll be a signing by next Friday? Yes or no answer. I'm going to come to you, Andrea, first. Will there be a signing by next Friday? Does he mean this Friday or next?
No, next one, I think.
Next one, okay. Definitely not by this Friday, I don't think.
No, not by this Friday, to be fair. And I hope there will be a signing by next Friday. So I'm gonna say yes. But you know, there's no communication. Basically, it's like radio silence from until the takeover situation is settled. So yeah, hopefully we sign someone. And I tend to say yes because you know, it's 24 days to the start of the season today, I think. And yeah, it's gonna be the time is gonna be taking by next Friday. So yeah, I think we will sign someone by then.
Yeah. Just before I come to Lockie, BRG one says, what's your thoughts on the new AFL rule about not appointing manager until after ratification? That's new. They
not
can't
manager.
do that now.
It's not manager. It's owners.
Yeah. It's owners, exactly.
It came
so
in
again,
July, and the takeover was announced in June. So bypass it. But it's an interesting one that's been brought in all of a sudden, isn't it?
Yes, of course it is. Of course it is. Yeah. Lockie, go on, mate. Are we going to sign anyone by next Friday?
Two people, mate.
Nice. I like that. That's bold. That is bold. Joe?
Yeah, why not?
I think we get one in by next Friday. I think we get one in. Yeah.
One in. Okay. Rocco?
Yeah, Robbles in for sure.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, Rocco.
No, well, yeah, we get because I tell you, I'm the kind of guy who spins it as they'll be like new signings, man. Joe, what say you, mate?
We sort of have to. The relentlessly positive part of me says it's going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's Nat Phillips. I think he'll be the first through the door, and it will be by next Friday. Right, folks, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you join me at 7 tonight to watch the White Rose Rivals. Really looking forward to that. Make sure you check out Andrea on Twitter, Lockie at Lockie Leeds. We have Rocco at the Leeds That podcast. Joe at Leeds United, The View, and of course Joe on his debut, great debut, mate, on Last Word FC. Please go on over and check Joe's channel out and the rest of everyone's channels. It's been great doing this again. Thanks as always for watching, and we'll see you all very soon. Peace out, folks, and have a good